Okay, I tried to upload the next chapter of Prince Puggly 5 times, and then I found out it was too long. So I'm going to do it in 2 parts. This will be part 1. Remember last week we read, or yesterday we read chapter 12, Spreading the Love, where King Dandy came and made up with Franny, and then he was talking about the new fashion and everything, and then Franny forgave him and they hugged each other, and Puggly hugged them too, and then the shaman said, let's have a party, and Puggly was so excited that he fainted. So that's where it ended. So the first part of the chapter we're reading, chapter 3, Our Man of the Mud. When Puggly awoke, he saw flashes of light. They jabbed at his eyeballs, painfully bright. He heard music as well, the lilting of lutes, the grumble of tubas, the whistle of flutes, and perhaps, just perhaps, the bray of bassoons. Then he opened his eyes to see only balloons. I think this is it, he whispered, and then he came very close to fainting again. But he didn't. Although he was right on the verge, he bravely was able to fight off the urge. He shook off his stupor. He was no longer dazed. He instead was astounded. The prince was amazed. He was slumped on his throne like a half-empty sack, an uncomfortable slouch in the curve of his back. Every Spud in the kingdom was with him as well. As he straightened himself, Prince Puggly could tell. He was smack in the midst of a special event. There was singing and dancing. He knew what that meant. A party, he thought. Amazing at last. By the look of things, everyone's having a blast. There he was, in the midst of a Spudlian ball. For a moment, he sat there just watching it all. There was Francesca. She danced with her dad. His outfit had changed, and now he was clad in Spudlian clothes, in trousers that drooped, as if in the back he had recently pooped. Meanwhile, the shaman was also on hand. He was up on the stage with the Spudlian band. He wore big platform heels and a flowery suit, and was rocking it out on electrical lute. Up above was a banner affixed to a wall. It said in huge letters, stupendously tall, "Welcome back, Puggly, our man of the mud, and to Franny's pop too. Hey, welcome to Spud. Now get up and dance. It's a party, you bet. It's a double reunion, a feast and a fete." Prince Puggly was pleased. He admired the crowd. He gazed at their outfits, so garish, so loud. He beamed as they danced in their fanciest shoes. A few of them even were blowing kazoos. To top it all off, a balloon had come loose, floating down like a feather plucked out of a goose. It tumbled, it wafted, it finally dropped down on the crest of his crown where it popped. "He's awake," someone shouted. "It's true," someone said. "He's coming around. He's back from the dead." Then nobody spoke. Instead, they all froze. The people stopped dancing and tapping their toes. The shaman stopped strumming in the midst of a rift. There was no sound at all, not a cough, not a sniff. Faced with this silence as still as a grave, Prince Puggly stood up. He gave them a wave. "Hooray!" cried the Spuds. They shouted, they roared. They showed off how deeply their prince was adored. At last, when the cheers were beginning to wane, the shaman stepped up with a glass of champagne. "Hey, P-Man," he said, "if you're in the mood, would you give us a speech? Like, say something, dude." A speech? Puggly thought. I'll give it a try, in spite of his throat going terribly dry. "We Spuds," he began, "we're not really revered. Other kingdoms around think we're all a bit weird. To them it would seem we're not stylish enough. They want us to dress up in trendier stuff. Well, to me, you look great. There's nothing amiss. I'm proud to be prince of a kingdom like this. A kingdom where each of us looks like a kook, where our socks and our shoes are the color of puke, where our riffles and ruffles are lacking finesse, where our powdery wigs are a wonderful mess, where the backs of our breeches sag down in the butt, and if they don't like it, then we say so what." Prince Puggly was ready to say something more when a stranger appeared to darken the door. And when I say stranger, as I did so just then, I meant it. That was no slip of my pen. This stranger got right to the root of the word. He looked very strange. He looked rather absurd. For all he was wearing, like Puggly before, were Y-fronted underpants and nothing else more. Unlike Puggly, however, these undies were tight. They didn't have hearts. They were brilliantly white. In the silence that followed, it was Franny who spoke. She said to the stranger, "Are you stealing our joke? The whole undie thing, I think that you'll find we tried that already. You're a little behind." "No," cried the stranger. He was standing his ground. "I'm serious here. I'm not joking around. In the place where I'm from, the only clothing they sell is rotten and soggy and infested as well. You can take it from me, it's appalling to wear. There were beetles," he said, "nearly ruined my hair." His hair, why, of course, that was the clue. It was then, all at once, every Spudlian knew. Who was standing before them at the palace's door? How was it, they wondered, they hadn't noticed before? "King Walter!" they cried. "Can it actually be?" It could, but he'd changed to a certain degree. How had he changed? It was slight, I suppose, but I think it had something to do with his nose. In any case, yes, the Spuds had it right, but their previous king was a sorrowful sight. He was haggard and haunted, a little too thin, and some sort of rash was afflicting his skin. From his undies on up, he was blotchy and red. "I'm allergic to organic fashion," he said. Yet his hair was untouched. Why, it looked rather nice. A big blonde bouffant. It was plump and precise. As the Spudlians gazed at that champion coif, they remembered the reason their king had run off. "Wait a second," they shouted. "Perhaps you recall, not long ago you abandoned us all. You woke up one morning, we woke up one morning, and poof, you were gone. You left us, remember, to run a salon." "It's true," Walter nodded. "I had to, you see. Being king of the Spuds, that wasn't for me. I'm quite good with scissors, as I'm sure you can tell, so that had a certain advantage as well. But look what their clothing has done to my skin. Please, come on, guys. Could you let me back in?" In response, the whole crowd had one thing to say. "We no longer need kings, so please go away." Okay, we'll stop right there.